Hi, my name is Megan, and I have been working with projectors for over 20 years. You might even say that I'm a pretty hardcore projector nerd. And today I'm going to teach you everything I can about how to choose a projector for any type of project. There are other videos on YouTube that will recommend projectors for home theaters or for schools, but as a general rule, those are tech review channels and they're sponsored, and they are people that have kind of a shallow understanding of the technology and haven't personally used as many projectors as I have. The reason that I've used a lot of projectors is because I make interactive software for projectors for a living. And my software, which is called LumoPlay, works on any projector. So if somebody wants to do this in their house, they can. If they want to do it in a Walmart, they can. And as a result, I have made projector recommendations for thousands and thousands of different types of projects in different environments. And that's given me a very deep knowledge of what different types of projectors could do, and also where the technology has come in the last 15, 20 years while I've been doing this. So I'm gonna pass some of that information on to you. If you have any questions, you can reach me at info@lumoplay.com. If you're interested in my software, you can visit lumoplay.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I take the time to answer every comment as they come in. So I will definitely respond if you let me know what your project is or what your question is. I love talking about projectors. I could talk about them all day. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is describe the different types of projectors and kind of what the pros and cons of them are, so that you can think about what you might want to use your projector for and guide your decision to buy something that's going to allow you to do some cool things with it that you may not have thought of. The first type of projector I want to talk about are Pico projectors, and this isn't like a breed of dog or a car where there are standards. A Pico projector is basically just a small projector that usually is battery powered and is typically not very bright. But there aren't rules for what qualifies as a Pico projector, so if you go looking for one, you may exclude some projectors that are small and portable and potentially battery operated, but just aren't marketed in the Pico category. The other thing that defines this category is price. A lot of the really cheap projectors that you see advertised on sites like Instagram are Pico projectors, and they're terrible. Don't buy them. I made a whole video about this. They're loud, the image quality is terrible. It's a different type of bulb technology than your standard projector, and you're just not gonna like it. And that might be a hot take. I don't think that people should spend less than $300 or $400 on a new Pico projector, and you should get something that is at least 500 lumens, or it's just not worth it. Now, things that you can do with a Pico projector or a battery-operated Pico projector specifically that you can't do with any other type of projector is use it as a bat signal to find your friends at a bar, or gorilla project under a bridge, or put googly eyes on things on April Fool's Day. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with a projector that fits in your pocket and operates on a battery. Keep in mind that the thing that it is projecting may not be battery operated. So if you are willing to connect your projector to your laptop, then you're going to be able to project full movies without having to plug in. But if you don't want to carry both of those things around with you, and you don't have an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device that is capable of sending videos or content to your Pico projector, it's important to look into what kinds of inputs it does take. The other thing to keep in mind is that this technology is changing very quickly. And so the advancements that humans have made in battery power as well as in laser light technology means that there are Picos on the market now that are pretty bright. Bright enough to be dangerous if you point them directly into somebody's eyes. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I did a review on a projector from AAXA that came out recently. It's a laser projector. It's over 1,000 lumens, and it easily rivals some of the classroom projectors that I've worked with, and it's portable. So that's a really great starting point. AAXA and ASUS both make the best Pico projectors that I've ever worked with. ASUS has a line of different Picos. There's also some new Picos offered by Epson, but I haven't tried them. But as a general rule, Epson's products tend to be pretty solid. So those are 3 brands that I would look for. If you're in the market for a projector that you can take with you because you want to watch movies while you're camping because you're afraid of nature, or because you want to do cool hijinks with your projector when you're not using it to watch things at home. This brings me to the next category of projectors, and there are Picos that fit in this category, but I'm not going to cover the specific different types of Picos out there. So think about this as the types of lenses that you can get in projectors, and assume that you can get all of these different lens types in a Pico projector as well. So long or fixed throw lenses are the most common type of projector. It's probably what you picture in your head when you think about a projector. These are projectors that are designed for theater use typically, and they need to sit fairly far back from the projection surface. They have the simplest lenses, and as a result, you can get much better technology for other things when you buy these projectors for the same price. So in other words, if you get a simpler lens arrangement, then you can get all kinds of other cool features for that extra money, like lens zooms and warping and edge blending. These projectors also come in pretty much every type of brightness, and they are the kind of projector that will be installed in a place and not moved around. It's not something that definitely not something that you want to carry around with you unless you have a road case for it. You can get them in all sorts of brightnesses, and they are extremely good for projects where the projector can be at a distance from whatever you're projecting on, and where you're looking for those extra features. Say you want to put in an installation where you have 10 projectors that are all edge blended together. A long or fixed throw projector is going to get you all of those features much more easily and at a much more cost-effective rate than if you wanted to use some of the other projectors that are further down on this list. The typical brightness for a projector starts out around 2,500 lumens, and that's honestly enough for a home theater. I wouldn't invest in a super bright projector for a home theater. The brightness comes at a cost. It interferes with color quality and image quality. So if you have an environment where you can control the lighting and you're not worried about shadows from people getting in between the projector and the surface that you're projecting on, this is the projector that I would choose. The next category of projector is the short throw projector. And again, none of these have strict rules, but as a general rule, a short throw projector is going to be kind of the same width of image as the distance from the projector to the surface. So in other words, if your projector is 8 feet away from your wall, your image is going to be 8 feet wide. This isn't a hard and fast rule, but it's a good difference between long throw and short throw projectors. The other difference, which is a little bit more visible, is that these projectors tend to have a bit of a bubble lens. They have a more complicated lens. It's something that undistorts the image after blowing it up bigger, is the easiest way that I can put it. And as a result, these projectors are designed for specific use cases, typically for classrooms and for office rooms, and not so much for home theater. You can find home theater varieties of them, but the cost to get a 4K resolution and really good image quality does go up when you have a shorter throw lens. So this is a projector that I wouldn't necessarily pick for a home theater unless you have to. If you're space constrained, they're a really good option. If you want to use something in a project where you want people to be able to approach the wall. So for instance, the wall that I showed just before getting into the details about projectors uses a short throw projector. And that's why I was able to approach the wall quite close without it casting shadows. So if you're doing a project where you want people to be able to really get close to the projection, and you still want to be able to mount that projector somewhat of a distance from the wall, not directly on the wall, then a short throw projector is really good for that. These also sometimes come with edge blending and warping and other tools for using multiple projectors to create a much larger image. But again, as a general rule, it's more expensive to get these in the brighter and more feature-rich varieties. And if you're doing a project like that and you have the space, it's probably not worth your while to use a short throw unless you have to. The last kind of projector that I want to talk about are ultra short throw projectors, and these are very distinct and definitely fall into a very specific category that no one can argue with. And the reason that they look weird is the lens actually faces backwards and bounces the image off of a mirror to the wall or to the surface that you're projecting on. And as a result, you get a very, very big image from a really short distance. These are really common in classrooms as whiteboard projectors, and they're something that you can find a lot of the time used in school storerooms or on sites like Craigslist. They have interactive accessories as well. You can use them for all sorts of projects. I have several installed around my lab. They are also commonly used in my portable floor system, and that's because if I'm moving my floor system from place to place, I can't mount everything to the ceiling. So using a ultra short throw projector gives me the option of putting the projector on a table or in this case on my road case, and it creates a very large interactive projection area on the floor. The downside to that is it does cast weird shadows when people stand on it. But when you have one of these mounted to a wall, you really have to get close to the wall to cast a shadow. So this is a really excellent choice if you want to put a projection in on a wall and you want to be able to approach it and use it as a whiteboard. There are some tabletop versions that you can carry around. And again, there are 4K and high image quality versions of ultra short throw projectors now, but they are very expensive compared to using a longer fixed throw projector. If you want something that you can move around and that will be 4K and have really high image quality, and you also want to eliminate all those shadows, you can expect to pay quite a bit more for an ultra short throw that does all those things. It's much, much better if you can control the lighting in your environment and you can place the projector further away from the surface. That's going to cost you less. So now that you know a little bit about the different types of projectors, let's talk about why you want a projector. I can't list every single possible thing that you could do with a projector, but here are some things that I've done with projectors that you might want to do too. As I mentioned previously, if you are installing a projector permanently in a home theater or in some sort of a presentation room, you aren't going to move that projector, and your priority is having the best image quality possible. I would opt for something in the 2500 to 3500 lumen range with really, really good reviews for the image quality. And this means that it is optimizing for good color and for high contrast, because remember, a projector is beaming light. It can't project the color black. So if you want to have something that has that contrast and makes it look like you're looking at the color black when you're watching something and it doesn't look washed out, then having a less bright projector with a higher contrast is a much better investment. So again, long fixed throw projectors are going to give you more options in this range, and they're going to be more cost effective. And that's what I would get if that's all you want. If you want something for gaming, the same rules apply, except you're also going to be looking for something that has low latency. And that's because you really do notice if there is any signal delay between the computer or your gaming system and the display. And projectors that have this feature will advertise it loudly. If you're an event company or a rental company, you want to invest in a projector that you can use in a lot of different ways, the best plan is to get a projector from EIKI, Christie, Barco, one of the big three, and invest in some lenses. Sony also has large venue projectors, but my personal experience with them has not been great. You may have had a different experience. Definitely let me know in the comments if you've had good experiences with Sony's projectors. But as a general rule, EIKI, Christie, and Barco are my recommendations for event companies or for venues that want to invest in a really good projector for a large area where brightness is a consideration. If you plan to use your giant expensive projector in any sort of environment where you're moving it around, get a good road case. You can call a road case company and you can give them your projector specs and you can tell them where you're taking it. You can tell them if it needs to be flight safe. You can tell them even like a target weight. or how many people have to be able to move it. I can't stress this enough. The worst thing that you can do after buying a projector is move it unprotected. These are very sensitive instruments. Even the Picos, even the little ones, they're not good at taking falls. So if you are going to use your projector in a way that involves moving it frequently, get a good road case. If you want to use your projector for random hijinks, look for something that has built-in Android and streaming support. These are fantastic little devices. Even if you have to plug the projector in, if you can stream to it wirelessly, it opens up a whole new world of what you can do with your projector. You can put it on your windowsill and project mean words on your neighbor's car when they park in your space. Like, there's so much fun stuff that you can do. If you want to get a projector for a school or a conference room, things are a little bit different. The usual use case for these projectors is to be able to share documents and do collaboration really well. And this means that they have to work with things like Zoom or conferencing software. They need to be able to support different inputs and outputs. And the image quality isn't as important as being able to read the text. So you don't necessarily have to have 4K resolution for that. You just need really good contrast. And the other thing is that these projectors will be touched by a lot of people, and not all of those people will respect your projector. So it is important to get something that's fairly robust. The brands that I recommend for this, hands down, are Optima and Epson. Epson dominates the market in classrooms, no question. And so if you're looking for a projector for a class, I would go with an Epson projector. They last a long time, their warranties are good, and the projectors that have LED or LED laser hybrid last a really long time. It will outlast you working at that school. As a general rule, across all of these different types of projectors, if you can get LED or LED laser hybrid bulbs, the projector is going to last you a lot longer. Having said that, a bulbed projector is a lot more sustainable. Replacing a bulb and cleaning the filters is definitely going to make your projector last a lot longer, and you're not going to be throwing an entire thing into a landfill. Now, I've heard that LED and laser bulbs can be replaced, but I haven't personally done it myself, and I haven't owned a projector that has come with instructions for how to do it. So again, this is kind of a blind spot for me. If you have experience with this, please let me know. And if you have recommendations for people who want to replace bulbs that are laser or laser LED hybrid, leave it in the comments. And this brings me to used projectors, which almost always are bulbed projectors. And the reason that you find so many of these projectors for sale, and some of them are old, you can get projectors that are 15, 20 years old and they're still working, and you can still get bulbs for them. And the reason is that they are robust. They're workhorses. Projectors back in the old days, when I first started working with projectors, were designed primarily for commercial use. They weren't things that people had in their homes. And as a result, they were built stronger. There are great projectors on the market today still, but the projectors that came out in the mid-2000s, if they're still running, you're probably going to be able to keep them maintained for quite a while if you're willing to do the research. So if you want to buy a used projector and you're looking at something that has a bulb, the first thing you should do is look up that bulb's replacement cost and figure out whether or not you can still get the bulb. Usually the bulbs cost about $200. So if you're looking at a used projector in, the 3,000 to 4,000 lumen area, don't pay more than $150, $200 for it. Anything more than that is not going to be worth it. You can definitely get a small portable projector for around that price that's going to be just about as bright and also more flexible. There are 3 good reasons to buy a used projector instead of a new projector, especially if it's your first projector. And reason number 1 is you're keeping something out of a landfill that works perfectly and that can be maintained to continue working. The biggest piece of equipment on a projector that tends to give people problems is the bulb, and you can replace those, and it's pretty easy to do. They just pop out, you pop a new one in. So if you are looking for a projector that will continue to last a long time, you're not super concerned about image quality, you just are concerned about price and you want to do something good for the planet, get a used projector. The second reason to get one is that they are workhorses and they will last a long time if you take care of them. The two things that you generally need to do are clean the filter and change the bulb. Cleaning the filter is important to keep it from overheating. So if you're looking at a used projector, check those two things. Check to see what the remaining bulb life is and whether a bulb is still available, whether you can buy a new bulb for it. And check the filter to see if it's filthy. If it's filthy, don't buy it. If it's clean and it's been maintained, it's probably gonna last you another 10, 15 years. And it's gonna cost you a fraction of what it would cost to buy a new projector. And that brings me to the third reason to buy a used projector is that everybody is poor now, including me. I just did a show in Baltimore where I needed to have 4 projections running for demos while I was volunteering to teach teachers how to make interactive projections for their classrooms. And when I looked at the rental prices in Baltimore to get the projectors that I needed, there was no way that I could afford it. It was several $1,000s to have these projectors for 4 days. It was much cheaper to go on an adventure to an electronics hoarding place, which I don't recommend doing, but if you are like me, you find the weirdos that have the giant stacks of projectors. I was able to get the projectors that I needed for $200. And I think that it's really important to recognize that there are all of these electronics out in the wild that still work. And so if you are just looking for something that you can use to project fun things on the front of your house during Halloween, or that you can use at a party or while you're DJing, get a used projector. Don't buy something new. They're really easy to use. Just double check that it has the input that you need, because some of the old projectors do not support HDMI, and that makes them a little bit difficult to use. And that brings me to the very last part of this video. Before you buy any projector, you should research it. And the websites of these projector companies, even the ones that I've mentioned, universally, they are horrible. Any projector company's website that you go to has these crazy, horribly photoshopped composite images that do not reflect the actual image quality of the projector. So how do you overcome this? How do you get a sense of what a projector is going to be like before you buy it? There's 2 ways. One, and I would urge you to be cautious with this one, is to look at videos of people reviewing the projector. The video is going to give you some really interesting information. For example, the review video that I did of the AAXA uncovered that their remote is a little bit glitchy. The projector itself is great, but sometimes the accessories don't work as well as I would like them to. Looking at a couple review videos that show you the projector in action, that's going to be very helpful. The thing that you want to keep in mind, though, is that any camera corrects for gamma, so you're not going to get an accurate picture of how bright that projector is from a video. The understanding of lumens is pretty important, so if you aren't really familiar with what the difference between 1500 and 4000 lumens is, go to an audiovisual store or even to Best Buy and just turn on a few things and take a look at them. Just get it in your head. Here's a range that will be helpful for you, and I'll link to this in the description. But we have a range of lumens that we recommend for environments where you can control the lighting, and that would be, under 1500 lumens, usually under 2500 lumens. If you can turn the lights off, if you have complete control of the lighting conditions. Anything where there is a light, like this room, where there's ambient light, you're gonna want something that's at least 2500 lumens. Even that is gonna look washed out, probably 3000 to 4,000 or 5,000 lumens. And if you're doing something in a trade show or a brightly lit environment, then you're gonna want something that is over 6,000 lumens, and often 10,000 lumens, which is crazy and expensive. Usually people don't own those projectors. Usually you rent them for whatever crazy thing you're doing. You cannot compete with the sun. No projector can, so don't ask people if you can do that with their projector. If you want to do something outdoors, if you want to do a big display outdoors, LEDs are probably your best bet. So getting back to research, if you are looking at the projector, understanding the lumen count, knowing what that brightness is and how much you need in the environment that you're planning to project in is really important. So definitely look up those details about the projector. and use a website called Projector Central. It's the Bible for people that are addicted to projectors. It's not flawless. There are definitely some times where it doesn't list accurate information, or it doesn't list information at all if the manufacturer hasn't provided it. But as a general rule, you will get all of the specs and lots of links to reviews on Projector Central's website. You will also get a lot of ads, and they definitely want to sell you projectors, so be cautious about what you click on that site. The tool that is the most useful, hands down, is their lens calculator. If you enter the model number of any projector, it'll take you to a page where you can look at the lens calculator and figure out exactly how big the image is going to be based on where you mount the projector. And this is critical information if you're picking something out for a project where the projector needs to be installed in a certain place. So that is the best source of information when you're researching a projector. And if you especially go to buy a used projector, you're going to want to be able to access this website so that you can look up the projector that you're looking at as you're testing it. Double check whether bulbs are available. You can do that on that site as well. It's a very, very useful site, and it will also give you a really good comparison feature. So if you're considering two different projectors and you just want to see all the features on one page, you can do that on their site as well. You really can do some really amazing and super inspiring things with projectors. I hope this video helped you on your journey to select the perfect projector for your project. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And if this kind of content interests you, next week I will be doing a tutorial about how to make money renting out interactive projection systems. So definitely subscribe if that's something that you're interested in learning about. And if you watch to the end of the video, just hit the like button. It really, really helps us. I spend every single week making a video in response to questions that I get asked frequently, whether they have to do with my company and my software or not, because I really like helping people. So if you can just hit like and maybe share the video with some friends, it'll help me and my friends out a lot. I'll see you next week with a new tutorial.